This is my presentation on precipitation, and it's a combination of science and language arts for a first grade class. So the standards are write informative or explanatory text in which they name a topic, supply some facts about the topic, or provide some sense of closure. The science standard would be obtain, evaluate, and communicate weather data to identify weather patterns. More specifically, they're going to ask questions to identify forms of precipitation such as rain, snow, sleet, and hailstones as either solid, ice, or liquid water. The objectives. The student will complete an informative or explanatory chart in which they supply facts about the topic, which is precipitation. The students will ask questions to identify forms of precipitation such as rain, snow, sleet, and hailstones as either solid, ice, or liquid water. The students will write an informative text choosing one form of precipitation and identify characteristics of that form and name whether it is a solid or liquid and provide some sense of closure. So for materials, you will need paper, pencil, laptop, Promethean board, precipitation worksheet, anchor chart paper, markers, one cotton ball, a small cup of water, salt, and a piece of ice, picture support for each precipitation form, pre-made list of facts, list of sentence starters, and then a series of YouTube videos that would already be pulled up. For engagement, I would start the lesson off by engaging the students and showing them these items. So first we would have ice, and just a regular ice cube. Then we would have salt, and it can be loose salt or it can be in a jar, it doesn't matter. A cup of water, and then a cotton ball. And then from there you would have the students try to figure out what do these items have in common. Can they figure out what will the lesson be about? So you'll let them give their responses. And then, after you've heard all the answers, if none of the students have answered, you will tell them what they all have in common and what they are supposed to represent. If the students do pick up on it, then tell them they are correct, and then you can just elaborate on it from there. So for the students, you're going to tell them that we're talking about precipitation, and the 4 items that you showed them have to do with the different forms of precipitation, which can be rain, snow, sleet, or hail. And then from there you can go on and say, now, what do you think the water represents? Well, the answer you should get should be rain. If not, then you can try to fish for it and see if they can get it on their own. If not, then you just have to tell them. From there you can say salt. And for the salt, you might get snow or you might get sleet. It depends on the student, what they've experienced and what they've seen. But either way, it's a representation of one of the forms. Same thing for the cotton ball. They could say it's snow or they could say it's sleet if you break it up in small pieces. But as long as they're in the general ballpark, that's all you're really looking for. And then the ice will represent the hail. Now, of course, it wouldn't be shaped like this, but you're just trying to get the main concept of it's ice falling. So once you've gotten through there and you've engaged the students and let them know what you're going to be talking about, then you'll go into the lesson. So it starts off by saying, the teacher will explain to the class that they will be writing their own informative text about one of the 4 types of precipitation. They will then ask who can remember, the teacher will then ask who can remember what the 4 types were. So what you just discussed in the opening, see if they can recall that information. You can call any students and they can help each other if they can only get 1 or 2, just as long as all 4 are mentioned. Then it will be, the teacher would explain what informative writing is, and explain the informative writing consists of presenting facts about reading the topic. They will explain that informative writing can be found in nonfiction books, which often have an index page, chapters, or a glossary. The teacher will then show the students an example of informative writing and break down how the information was presented and structured and how to bring the writing to a close. So depending on what your style is, you can either do some type of writing on the Promethean board, you can either have it already composed yourself, or you can compose it with the class, whichever works for your class. Only you know how your students learn. So either way works. You just want to give them some type of example where they can see that this is how it is structured, this is information, this should be provided, this is how it should look when you have your finished product, and then you can go from there. So once they have their example, then you will create an anchor chart as a class. So I have listed examples, which if the teacher was looking at this, she would be able to see examples at the bottom of this lesson plan of what an anchor chart should look like for this particular lesson. I have multiple ones. So it just depends on the preference. Like I said, it goes either for your student's style or the teacher's style, whichever one, but preferably for the style of students, because you want to pick a method that they learn best from. So you would go ahead and complete your anchor chart, and once your anchor chart is done, then you would play a video to kind of summarize what they've learned so far, since it's a lot of information. They're only first graders. So the first video is called Beautiful Science. And I'm just going to play a little bit of it. The first video was the wrong video. And this video is called Beautiful Science, as I said, and this video will help explain how precipitation works and how it involves the clouds and starts in the clouds and makes its way down to Earth in the whole process, and the different types of precipitation that you can have. So that video will be a good one to kind of open up the lesson and kind of bring home the points that you just made at the beginning. So that will be video number 1. And ideally you want to have all these videos already pulled up so that when you start the lesson, as you're ready to hit them, you can just go click, click, click without having to pull, because students obviously don't want to wait and they get bored quickly. So from there, after the students watch the video, you'll ask them any kind of comprehension questions to see if they're grasping what precipitation is, the different forms, and see if they're kind of getting if they're a liquid or a solid, and if so, how do they know if it's a liquid or a solid. So then the students will be responsible for writing at least a paragraph or 5 sentences, and this will be their formal assessment. But in order for them to gain the information they need to write their formal assessment or the paragraph, they're going to first have to know how to classify and get the information for each form. So for there, I would have a worksheet, and the worksheet is also on the bottom of the lesson plan, and it shows you each type of precipitation form, and there's a box. And for each box, let me zoom in so you can see it on the computer. For each box, you're going to be able to write, the students are going to be able to write the facts for each type of precipitation, and then they're going to be able to write whether they think it is a solid or liquid. And here's the box right here. So let's see if we can scroll down. So this will be the top of the worksheet, and it has rain, sleet, snow, and hail. And in each box it has the same thing, and it has a spot to put rain is, sleet is, and so on. And so at the top they'll write their facts, and at the bottom they'll write on the line whether it's a solid or liquid. If they don't have room, because I know kids write big, they can also flip the paper over and write on the back and just write sleet and then write their facts for that, or you can give them extra paper, however it works for your whatever they need to do. So they will use that paper to fill it out. And that will be what they'll use to help them write their paper or their paragraph, which will be 5 sentences. Now ideally, to open up the lesson, you would have the students all at the bottom of at the front of the room where the teacher sits at the carpet. At the front of the room where the teacher teaches, they'll be sitting at the carpet, and you'll have them there, and that's where you'll present the lesson. Then once you've created the anchor chart as a class, you'll dismiss them back to their groups, or however their stations are, centers are normally. You'll separate them back, and then once they are seated, you'll give them their worksheet, which has the one I just showed you, which has all 4 types of precipitation forms on it, and they will use websites or videos that I already have pulled up that will be listed on the lesson plan. They'll go independently, watch these videos and or books, whichever you have, whichever resources you have, which one of them is a book that will play to them. They can read, so read aloud, and they can watch it. But they will use those resources to help pull information to be able to complete the worksheet. Once they complete the worksheet, then they will raise their hand, have the teacher come up and listen to which one they chose to do, because they don't have to choose one form. So once they choose the form of presentation they want to write about and do their facts on, then they will tell the teacher, she will write their form on the piece of paper, and then that will be what they will write their final paragraph on their informational text about the presentation form they chose. Now for enrichment, these students will be tasked with adding illustration or picture to their writing, in addition to choosing 2 forms of precipitation to write about instead of 1. So these are the students who are considered gifted. They will choose 2 forms, not 1. Everyone else will choose 1, but they will choose 2. And they will also add a picture and illustrate it. As for intervention, these students will work in small group with the teacher to help with them to research and develop their informational text. So they will be at a U table or whatever you have set aside for small groups. They will work with the teacher so that she can help them create their informational text. As for accommodations, there will be picture supports, which will have like little cutouts of each type of precipitation that will be in front of them, so they can be constantly reminded of what form each is, and they can visually see it. There will be individual sentence starters to help them format their sentences, and then there will also be a list of pre-made facts so that they can, instead of them having to research and be overwhelmed by that process, because some might be, some might not be, but some might be, they will have pre-made list of facts that they can look and select which facts they want to do, and they can put their sentence together through that. Now as for the anchor chart, it depends on your style, but I just pulled some samples. This will be one, and this just shows that you have your topic. They have a hand that's simulating the 5 sentences, and your thumb will be the topic sentence, and then your index finger and your middle finger and ring finger, those will be your 3 or more supporting detail sentences, and then your pinky is your closing sentence or your final conclusion summarizing sentence. That's one style. Let me pull up the other one. And then you have one that's pretty much just straight to the point. You have your topic sentence, your 4 facts, and then your summary. And this is another style. It all depends on you, or you could do something completely different, as long as you're basically hitting the points of, you have a topic sentence, you have your facts in the middle, which can be anywhere from 3 to 5 sentences, and then your summary concluding sentence at the very end. And then here, this would just be some textual evidence sentence starter. So for those who might need it, this will be a good worksheet because it gives them ways that they can start off their sentences for those who might need it. And there's another one, another handout that you could give that also has the same thing, sentences that they can start off with. And then these are hooks as your introductory sentence. So while these are sentence starters for the other sentences in the paragraph, this is introduction sentences that you can start your paragraph off with. So once your students start wrapping up their writing, you can bring them all back together either on the carpet, or you can have them stay where they're at in their groups at their tables and do a conclusion or a summarizing set of questions to kind of see if they comprehended any part of the lesson, or if you find out what you need to know to go back and maybe reteach for those who might still be struggling with the content. So some of the questions that you might want to ask at the end of the lesson would be, who can tell me what precipitation is? How many forms of precipitation did we learn about today? Who can tell me the name of all four forms of precipitation? Which of the four forms of precipitation are solids? Which are liquids? And how do you know? What season are you most likely to see each form of precipitation? What do you think the temperature has to be in order for each form to exist, cold or hot, and why? Now, some of these questions weren't necessarily gone over the answers, but for those students who think outside the box, they might be able to come up with the answer. So it's good to just kind of throw questions out there that they might be able to get to the answer through deductive reasoning, because most of them should be able to tell you, if not all, that the weather has to be cold in order for this precipitation, most of these forms of precipitation to occur. Rain necessarily doesn't have to be cold or hot weather. It can be in both, but definitely the ice, for sleet and hail and snow, it has to be cold weather. So as you can see, this lesson would be great for a first grade class. It's not too hard, and at the end I have another video which is a song that goes with precipitation, and so it'd be ideally played at the end, where it summarizes all the thoughts and key parts of the lesson, and you play that for the students. It's a nice way to kind of get a catchy ring to the whole precipitation lesson, and hopefully they'll be able to take something from it and be able to understand the main takeaways, which is there are 4 types of precipitation, what they are, what season they will be most likely found in, and how do we get them. So hopefully this video helps. Thank you.